Hi, everyone. I wanted to see if I could record my podcast with you live. I thought it could be nice to see the process, the creative process for you guys. And it'll feel like we're kind of doing this as a community. I wanted to do an episode on what's going on right now and to try to be a voice for something positive, something calmer, something future focused in a helpful way. And I hope that this comes across with that intention. It's taken me a while to write it because I didn't really know what to say, right? We're all in this together, and it's tricky navigating these waters, but I thought it could be nice if I did this with you here so that you can see how it all happens. So thank you for being here. And this is the next podcast episode before it gets edited and uploaded. So much has changed since I was last here, and most of us can't even put into words what is going on and how it's making us feel. I want to start out by acknowledging however you're being impacted, whether it be by the virus itself or the lockdowns or the collective anxiety. I see you and I'm thinking of you. This is hard, the kind of hard we've never had to navigate before. It's requiring us to live in a completely new way, one that feels uncomfortable, one that is a dramatic change. And with change and uncertainty comes fear. Many of us have never had to process fear in this way before, deal with anxiety on such a grand scale. I know it's feeling heavy for me and for everyone I speak to. And this podcast is going to be all about the buts. We have the capacity to take this tightness in our chests and the longing to run away and turn it into something beautiful. You're already seeing glimpses of it. Maybe not on the news, but in your social media feeds. Communities coming together in song. Neighbours leaving caring notes and doing good deeds for one another. Landlords waiving rent payments, celebrities making donations, retired doctors returning to lend their hands to the front lines. What if this heartbreaking chain of events could be a doorway to more compassion, more consideration, and more generosity? Now, before I go any further, I want to speak to those who have lost loved ones already, who carry the weight of fearing for their elderly or immunocompromised family or friends, and for those who are unwell. I am so sorry, and please look after yourselves. To those of you who don't have the option to stay at home, who are out there providing essential services and making sure the rest of us can stay safe and stay apart, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. To those of you who are looking at the number in your bank account and are staving off panic attacks most days because you don't know how you're going to get through the next few weeks, I see you and my heart aches for you. I am so sorry. This is tragic. The whole situation is gut-wrenching and is having such an impact on so many sections of humanity. Nothing I say in this podcast is ever meant to take away from the real pain people are going through. Ever. But for so many of us, we now find ourselves with so much space. And what I'm interested in talking about in this episode is how we use that, how we transform it, how we fill it. Something I'm finding pretty interesting while on house arrest is that my bullshit is becoming more and more laughable. The fears I had around being visible or what I felt I had to prove seem completely bonkers right now. I get the feeling that so many of us are getting a huge wake-up call as to what truly matters and what is needed from us for our own fulfillment and for the world, and how we can be of service, share our gifts, and show up as our best and brightest selves. For some of us, that looks like less. For some of us, it looks like more. Either way, our stories of what our lives had to look like and how we should show up in them have been tipped upside down. Have you felt it? All the pieces of you, who you thought you were, all the identifiers you've clung to have been emptied onto the floor. And now you have an opportunity to decide what to put back in. We have silence to listen to our guts, to ask the questions we've claimed to not have had time for before. The questions that felt too big to answer, too uncomfortable to look at. Questions like, what have I always longed to do? What have I hidden away for crazy reasons like I don't feel good enough? Who have I always wanted to be? And how can I act from that place now? The world's story is being rewritten at this very moment. And even though it might not feel like it, we're being given an opportunity, a fresh perspective. We're getting clarity on what we've been chasing that isn't important or necessary or is just a complete ego feast. We're getting clarity on parts of ourselves and emotions we've buried for years that we really haven't worked through. We're getting clarity on how disconnected we'd become from our loved ones as we connect and check in more now than ever before. We're getting a glimpse of the kindness and generosity humans are capable of. We're getting a glimpse of what real community and what real leadership looks like. We're getting a glimpse at how our lives could have been this simple all this time. So what will we do with this clarity, these glimpses? This chance to rewrite our stories and how we contribute to a bigger one. Will you ignore it and fill every moment by binge watching all the TV shows you can get your hands on to drown out the questions? Or will you spend some time listening, deeply listening, and rebuilding yourself from the ground up? Imagine if everyone came out of this with eyes and hearts wide open, letting go of division, of the need to always be right, of old examples of what success looks like, living from a place of deep empathy, intention, and open-mindedness. Imagine if we all dealt with our past traumas and triggers while things were at a standstill. Processed all the reasons we feel inferior and therefore stopped throwing that pain at others. Imagine if we used these seconds, minutes, and hours to dream up what comes next, to creatively brainstorm all the ways in which the world comes out of this stronger and softer. How you come out of this stronger and softer. That is a silver lining I can get behind. That makes my heart crack open again. That makes me tear up in the best kind of way. And again, please know I'm not saying this to downplay anything, because I know many people are unsure how they're going to pay their bills, where they're going to live, and what their future holds. But I'm holding on to every morsel of faith I have that we'll band together and get through this together. Every day, every hour, every minute, I'm choosing to look for the opportunities. Sometimes that looks like rooting myself in the present moment and practicing gratitude. Sometimes that involves reading about how the planet is healing and breathing better. Sometimes that means calling my friends and family and laughing my head off. We still have choices. They may not look like which country we want to holiday to or which restaurant we want to catch up at right now, but we have choices. And I, for one, am always going to choose the silver lining. I will always choose to be a voice for the light, for optimism and inspired action. Because that's who I want to be and how I come out of this stronger and softer. What, my darling, will you choose? Thank you, as always, for listening. I never take your time and your attention for granted. Please take exceptional care of yourself right now, especially looking after your mental health. Give yourself what it is that you need. Try not to beat yourself up for the shoulds. Douse yourself in compassion. Reach out if you're struggling. Connect. That's what we humans do best. And if there's any way I can support you, please let me know. I'm constantly looking for ways I can be of more service, and it's especially important right now. And lastly, please remember that everyone is doing their best. We're all feeling out of control, and we're all on edge. I'm asking you to lead with generosity and lean into what is beautiful. I'm sending all my love. Look after one another. To those of you watching, thank you. I was just recording that for the podcast, so I couldn't see whether or not there's any comments or anything. Hi, Kamal. Yeah, sometimes when we feel out of control and we feel scared and we feel unsure, for me, this is what makes me feel better, is trying to show up in the best way that I can, using my words, using my presence. And I hope that the message is useful. I hope that you can just feel me through the computer screen, or if you end up listening to the podcast through your headphones. So this podcast, I will edit it now, and it will be available on Apple Podcasts. It's on Stitcher. It's on Spotify. So if you haven't listened to my podcast yet, it might be a nice time to listen to a few episodes. Thank you, Craig. I'm so glad that you liked it. It's called The Moderately Tortured Artist, so you can look up that if you would like to. Thank you for being here. It was actually really nice to record this with you. It's almost like we had this little bubble together while I was doing it. And I'm amazed I didn't make more mistakes. Usually, there's a lot more editing to do than that, but I think the one kind of little trip up I had, I'm just going to keep in there, so it'll be nice and quick for me to put together. I'm holding all of you in my heart and thinking of you. So thank you so much for being here. If you jumped on late, I'll finish this up. I'll wrap it up so that you can watch it if you would like to. But take care of yourselves, guys. Thank you.